Kenny here with Gardening Simplified. We're out here in the workshop today, and today we're going to talk about conserving some tomatoes. What we're doing today is we're making tomato juice. And the first thing you got to do is have tomatoes. Now, as you can see, these are not the prettiest tomatoes. We have some that we have foot bugs or stink bugs that decides to sting them up. You can see when you have tomatoes look like that, that's what's happening. You can see cracking on the top, which that happens a lot of times from rain, different things causing the tomato to split. You have some tomatoes where the bottom is like this, or it can even be worse when you get a fasciated bloom. It does make bigger tomatoes, but they really start looking gnarly sometimes. But don't worry about that you don't have the perfect tomato, because when you're making tomato juice, any tomato will do. Anytime you're making tomato sauce, tomato juice, ketchup, anything, you want to get rid of certain parts of your tomato. Now, we're using the leftovers from this. We're going to make, we're going to call it tomato bouillon. And so what we want to do is make sure that we have only the perfect parts of the tomato left over. So anything that doesn't look good, you can see a little spot there. Cut these off, make sure there's nothing in there. A lot of times you get little bruises like this when you pick them. If they're, the closer they are to ripe, it doesn't take much pressure, it'll cause it to bruise. Then we're going to take, and now a lot of times I just core these out, but this one here, I'm going to cut around this top so that instead of coring it. Now I'll take, and a lot of times I'm more selective, I guess, on the tomatoes, what I use. A lot of times we would not be quite so selective, but we did grow a lot of tomatoes. But what we're going to do is we're going to cut all these up. We don't want anything that may have bacteria or something like that. If it's questionable, throw it away. Now that we've got some cut up here, we're going to take and get these over here and get them juiced. When it comes to juicing, there's a lot of different methods. We used to use a hand crank juicer, works fine, but it does take a lot more time. It's always good when you have two people. I can cut up tomatoes and she likes to juice them. And the process here, she just puts tomatoes in there, and then the juice comes out the bottom, and the leftovers go off into here. Now, usually what we would do is we'd feed this to the chickens. They like it just fine. If we have a whole lot, we'd compost the rest of it. But what we're doing with this here is we're going to we're going to call it tomato bouillon or tomato powder. We're going to take this and we're going to freeze dry it, and then we're going to powder it up, and we'll go through that process in another video. But anyway, we're going to keep juicing. We've got a 40-quart pot, and that this would be good amount. What we'll do is once we get this pretty full, we'll cook this down, and we'll go through that process too. But that's all it is to it. Now these juicers here, they are pretty expensive if you buy them new. Now, but if you keep your eye out, we paid $75 for this, and this is I think third year we've been using it, and it's really handy. In fact, we actually got another one that we only get $50 for. So if you keep your eye out, you'll be able to find that equipment that'll really save you some time. Anyway, we're going to get these tomatoes juiced. Once you get all your tomatoes juiced, then it's time to cook them down. Now, I run this a little bit, getting it to boil. It was about up here, and before it starts boiling, it puts a lot of foam, and we did make a little mess out here in the shop. We are doing this out in the shop with the turkey cooker. Makes it a whole lot cooler in the house. Don't have to run the air conditioner trying to get the heat down. But what we're going to do is we're going to cook this down. These tomatoes were mostly Cherokee Purple, which is a beefsteak, so it doesn't have a whole lot of juice like some of the others. But we're going to cook this down and probably cook off about a quarter of the liquid, being we're making juice. The juice can be put back, and what we'll do is we'll go through this until we start seeing kind of a texture like we want. And then once we do this, we'll move on into the house and we'll start bottling this up. Okay, got it cooked down. Now, whenever you're making tomato juice, you want to cook part of the water out. Now, if you was going to make sauce, you would probably cook it longer, get a little thicker. Now, whenever we do this, we don't add a bunch of spices or anything like that, whether we're making sauce or juice, because it makes it more versatile, because we can add those spices whenever we use it in something. But we've got our jars sterilized. We've got our pot ready. When you're doing tomatoes, you water bath them. Now what we're going to do is put it in these jars. We're going to fill these jars. Okay, we always add a teaspoon of salt. Now, salt is optional. Now, whenever I say salt, we use Redmond's sea salt. We don't use a regular salt, or definitely not iodinized salt. We don't use cannon salt. The minerals have been cooked out, so it's not as healthy for you. Now what we're going to do is we're going to fill these about a ½ inch from the top, and we'll get all these filled up. Also, we've got 2 tablespoons of lemon juice in the bottom. Now, if you were doing pints, of course, you'd do just 1 tablespoon and a ½ teaspoon of salt. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to take your damp rag and wipe down the top of these lids, make sure there's nothing on them. And if any tomatoes, this is the same process for all of them. The lemon juice raises acidity. That makes it good and safe as far as when you're water bath canning, because tomatoes are one of the things that can be water bath canned. You want to make sure your lids are on there just finger tight. Okay, now we've got them in there. When you water bath can, you want to have about 1 inch of water over the top of your bottles. And what we do is, even though we're not pressure canning this, we'll take this lid and we put it on where it's actually setting up, but it holds the heat in better and it'll get this up to boiling quicker. Okay, we've got this lid on here cracked. It'll heat up quick. Once it gets heated up just a little bit, we're going to water bath this for 40 minutes. And there we go. All bottled up, ready to go on the shelf. Now get ready and do the next batch. But I hope this video was helpful. I hope you find some value in it. And I hope you decide to do some of your own preserving at home. And if you want to see more, of course, just hit that subscribe, hit the bell, select all, give it a big thumbs up. and share this video. Enjoy that gardening experience.